Step by step. Imagine I'm
Minute.
Yeah,
I'm not there. It's a good day.
they are coming back now. Uju, come and give me that Papa Peace number. I'm there because I thought she
Please, let's all mute our microphones.
yeah, way. This is danger. Now wow. Balance the quality in with the number too.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Okay, we're still welcoming participants to join this session, and
I think it's some of them.
Hey, God's time. Can you mute Ijoma? Okay, good. Awesome.
all right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever you are joining this session from. We've been waiting for participants for over 10 minutes now, as stated in our outline, and we strongly believe that they will do well to join in due time. Meanwhile, we can't keep the meeting waiting for them to join because the information was disseminated quite on time, and we believe that they've all received the login details as timely as possible. So I believe that this session is very crucial, critical to everyone that is a serious applicant seeking for opportunities to expand their knowledge and skills as well. Okay, just give me a moment, please.
No, it's not. I didn't.
So guys, good evening once again. I can see that all our speakers for tonight have already joined the session. And it's important we kind of start like very soon, so we'll be able to cover up the outline we have for today. So basically, this session is hosted by Academic Advancement Alliance. Goodness. So this session is hosted by Academic Advancement Alliance. We're a group of young Africans. As an NGO, we focus on providing information and mentorship opportunities to young people across Africa who are seeking for graduates, opportunities and scholarships abroad to expand their skills and be able to acquire the required knowledge that is needed to promote sustainable development, both in their home countries and across Africa. And Africa as a continent, we know that educationally, Africa seems to be having challenges, and there is limited funding to young people in terms of boosting their talents and skills. And we feel that the numerous opportunities that are out here, we should be able to share it with young people across Africa and be able to give them the required mentorship that they need to be able to access these opportunities successfully, so as to be able to give back to the society as well in the most positive way. And we've put up this session together. It's a 2-day session. Today we'll be covering basically how undergraduate students from 200 level to their final year can actually get the right information and build capacity to prepare effectively for scholarship opportunities abroad. So during their undergraduate studies, they will be able to prepare effectively and know the right things to do, the right information they will work with, and build greater capacity since scholarships and graduate school opportunities are becoming very competitive in 2023. And also, the other part is for graduates. Though we focus initially on Federal University Otuoke, but at some point in time, we need to expand it to be able to create room for other young people to join from other universities and other countries within Africa as well. So we made this session actually open. So this session would give them the opportunity to get the right information and be able to build greater capacity to apply for scholarships and graduate opportunities available to them in the US, UK, around EU as well, so as to build their skills and expand their knowledge as well in basically solving sustainable development problems in their home countries and communities, and also impacting their world positively as well. So today, basically, we'll be focusing on how undergraduate students and graduates can also prepare for scholarships opportunities as well by building greater capacity at this very critical time. Also focusing on the PTDF scholarship and study opportunities that are actually available to young people from Africa to countries like France. And We'll also focus on United States graduate school opportunities for master's and PhD applicants as well. Then the fourth part of it for today will be focusing on capacity building and transitioning from graduate school to the industry. Quite a number of opportunities are available to young people, but unfortunately, as much as there is competition in most of them, there are others that are also under-assessed as well, because people do not have the right information that is needed to be able to get these opportunities. So tomorrow we'll be focusing on the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship and the Commonwealth Masters and PhD Scholarship, the Chevening Awards, and the Erasmus Mundus Scholarship as well. My name is Ezekiel Godstime, and I'm the convener of the Academic Advancement Alliance. I hold a bachelor's degree from political science. I have a bachelor's degree in political science from Federal University Otuoke, Bayelsa State, Nigeria. And I'm currently studying for my master's degree in terrorism, international crime, and global security at Coventry University, United States, as a Commonwealth Shared Scholar funded by the UK government through the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, alongside Coventry University as well. And tonight, I will be having Yeboah Hakwa, who will be my co-host, happen to be the co-convener of the Global Scholarship of Academic Advancement Alliance. We've been doing this for the past 2 years. We started actually in 2021, when we launched the Global Scholarship Network, and this year we changed the name to Academic Advancement Alliance because we needed to reach out to more people. And this is part of the things we do. Though before now we limited it to members of our platform, but we consider the fact that it's quite important that we expand the opportunity to other people who will be seeking for it. So this year we decided to deepen our engagements as well and provide more opportunities to people. So we basically provide support to people, we provide mentorship, capacity building opportunities, and we hold sessions like this for different scholarships and mentorship as well to help them scale through successfully while applying for scholarships. I would like to, at this point in time, welcome all participants and speakers to tonight's session. Quickly, I would like to say that there are rules that will be guiding us in our engagement tonight. So while our speakers are making their presentation, no participant is expected to interrupt. If you have a question, kindly drop it using the chat box and your question will be addressed. Or you kindly wait till when participants are required to ask questions. And if you would like to ask a question, please kindly use the necessary tools, like you have to use the reaction to raise your hand, and you'll be permitted to speak. Once again, I would like to emphasize that no participant is permitted to speak without authorization from the host or the co-host. We expect each and every one of us tonight to maintain some level of decorum by ensuring that we turn off our videos and mute our mics as well if your background noise is going to disturb the session. Having said that, I would like to tell you that basically those who get selected for scholarships and graduate opportunities are people who are able to prepare sufficiently on time. I humorously tell people that it takes a minimum of 1 year for you to actually prepare for scholarships or graduate school opportunities and get selected, because there are a whole lot of things you will need to do for you to be able to put up a competitive application that is deserving of an award. Usually, most of the scholarships and graduate school opportunities usually open for applications by August, September of every year. And so we've decided to host this session as early as possible to be able to give you the right information that will help you prepare adequately for the next application cycle that should be commencing from August, September to October, November, depending on the scholarship or application that you probably will be submitting. So once again, you are welcome. I would like to briefly introduce our speakers for tonight. But before then, I have already told us what this session for tonight is all entailed. So basically, this session is divided into two, today and tomorrow. For today, it will focus on the preparation process and capacity building for scholarships and graduate school opportunities, which Ekenna will handle, and also the PTDF, scholarship and funding opportunities, and study routes to France, which will be handled by Joshua. And thirdly, US graduate schools, master's and PhD funding opportunities and application process, which Dr. Onyeka will handle. And finally, capacity building and transitioning from graduate school to the industry. There will be time for questions and answers. After that, we'll give an announcement for tonight. Then we'll close the session to commence tomorrow, same time. However, I would like to emphasize once again that as an NGO, we do not charge people for the services we offer. No one from this platform is going to ask you for money. Before, during, and after this entire event, no one is going to ask you for money. Everything we do is completely free of charge, and we do not offer paid services. So if at any point in time you are asked to pay money by anyone, make sure that you do not pay money to anyone, either from this platform or outside. And I believe that we have people of good character and integrity working as a team, so they will be able to uphold the ethics and principles that guide us as an NGO. For tonight will be Ekenna. He had a bachelor's degree in physics from Federal University Otuoke, Bayelsa State, Nigeria, and is currently studying for his master's in Croton University, Houma, United States. During his undergraduate studies, he won the MTN Foundation Undergraduate Scholarship and also the Federal Government of Nigeria Federal Scholarship Board managed undergraduate scholarship. Like I said earlier, he's currently on a fully funded master's scholarship at Croton University, Houma, United States, and his research focused on improvement of medical imaging using artificial intelligence. Ekenna, you're welcome tonight.
Hi, Gostan. Thank you for the introduction. So, am I free now to present?
No, not yet. Let me quickly introduce the audience as well.
Thank you.
So our second speaker for tonight will be Joshua Itazi.
Ma?
He had a bachelor's degree in chemistry from Federal University Otuoke, Bayelsa State, Nigeria. Hello, please, can you mute your mic?
Gostan, you can actually mute everybody from your end. You are the host.
Do that, please.
Mute everybody and kind of unmute if anybody wants to speak.
Ọ pụta ebe ọ nọ. Em ăn thật đâu vậy sao thế nào vậy? Cho bên gì? Bên mà không nào.
All right, so like I said, Joshua Tazi had a bachelor's degree in chemistry from Federal University Otuoke, Bayelsa State, Nigeria, and is currently studying for his master's in chemistry at the Université Grenoble House in France as a PTDF scholar. And his research interests revolve around synthetic organic chemistry. Joshua, you're welcome tonight. Our third speaker for tonight is Onyenka Hobidi. He graduated from the Department of Biochemistry at Federal University Otuoke in 2017. During his time at FUO, he led efforts to promoting student welfare through activities in various student associations. He led the Biochemistry Student Association in FUO as its president and became the first departmental student association to be approved by the Federal University Otuoke management. He later became the national president of the Nigerian Society of Biochemistry Students and brought the National Biochemistry Student Conference to Federal University Otuoke. He was also the president of the Nigerian Federation of Catholic Students, Federal University Otuoke. Same year, he served as the electoral committee chair of the FUO Students Union. After his NYC in 2018, he moved to the United States for his PhD and is currently studying for his PhD as a candidate at the Department of Biochemistry, University of Utah, United States. Onyenka won the Education USA Membership Award and also a fully funded PhD scholarship at the University of Utah, where he is currently studying biochemistry as a PhD candidate. Doc, you are welcome tonight. Can you hear me, Doc?
Yeah, okay, good. So you muted everyone previously and I couldn't get access to speak. So yeah, thanks for unmuting me.
Right,
okay, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
You're welcome. Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see and hear from you, Gossan.
Thank you. So our fourth speaker for tonight will be Asiwaju Samuel. He had a bachelor's degree in computer science from Federal University Otuoke, graduated in 2018. and he was awarded the Erasmus Mundus scholarship to study for his master's in green networking and cloud computing in 2020. Within this period, he studied at Leeds Beckett University, UK, where he obtained a master's degree in ICT and sustainable computing. From there, he moved to the University de Lorraine in France, where he obtained a master's degree in complex system engineering, and also moved to the Luleå University of Technology in Sweden, where he obtained a master's degree as well. Currently, Asuwaju works as a software engineer, as cloud native developer with Ericsson in Stockholm, Sweden. I would like to mention that during his undergraduate studies, he also won numerous awards, including the PTDF Undergraduate Merit Scholarship, and he was the best graduating student in his faculty, the Faculty of Science, of the 2018 graduating set. Asuwaju, you are welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much, Augustine. Yeah. And good evening, everyone from this end.
All right, so quickly, I would like Hekena to tell us the preparation process that is required for both undergraduate students who are currently studying for their degree programs in Nigeria or any other country, most especially those who have joined the session tonight. The thing that they need to be doing at this point in time, if they intend to apply for scholarships and graduate opportunities as well, and how they could start building capacity, and the things, other things that they probably would need to be doing at this point in time. So again, I will just hand over the microphone to you, and you have about 30 minutes or thereabouts to speak. Thank you very much, and you're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Augustine. To everyone that joined us today, both speakers and participants, I say thank you for making it. I'm going to talk about preparation and capacity building for both undergraduates in Nigeria or wherever you are on how to kind of advance your studies and become a grad student. So before we kind of start, it's kind of good to understand what this scholarship is all about. We actually know what the scholarship, like when people go to school, they say they're being paid money for something. That's basically the grammatical expression of a scholarship. It is a money awarded to a student in order to advance his or her studies based on academic achievement or whatever. It can be sports or maybe friend relationship or anything. It's actually a free money, and it's kind of cool to have that. We know in school, we have 3 categories of persons. We have the people that call their parents to send them fees. We have group 2 that have to work outside school to raise money. And we have class 3, people that are being sponsored by external bodies. And those are called people that earn scholarships or awardees. Now, the benefit of these scholarships is kind of plethora. We can't actually list all of them. One is that you are going to study without stress. You don't have to bother if the school portal is about to close, or you bother about how you get money for textbooks, because this money kind of covers almost everything. For instance, I remember the PTDF scholarship then. The contract kind of covers both your school fees, you're awarded this in a HP laptop, you're given a research grant that kind of allows you to kind of do research without thinking, oh, who am I going to pay to have access to this facility? So these the few benefits of scholarships. So now we have different types of the scholarship for our level. We have the local scholarship and the international scholarship. Though as a Nigerian, we're entitled to this local scholarship. And this local scholarship kind of free of charge. We have that at the undergraduate level, and we also have it at the postgraduate level. A good example of the undergraduate level is the MTN, which I was lucky to be an awardee. Then we have the Federal Scholarship Board. We have the PTDF, which a few of my colleagues here got the awards. Then we have the even regional scholarships. Some oil companies kind of sponsor their indigents to go to school free of charge, even churches. Then we also have the biggest, which is the NLNG. And most awardees are mostly from either from Rivers, Bayelsa, and the rest of them. Then the worth of this scholarship, I'm talking about the money worth, is really huge. For instance, MTN is a 3 years contract, no, 4 years contract if you're on a 5 years a bachelor degree. 3 years contract if you're on a 4 years bachelor degree, and each awardee is given 200,000 naira per annum, and it's actually a huge amount of money. That can take almost 1/4 of the money is enough to pay your fees, and the three quarter is for you to sort your life. Then we have the PTDF that almost pays 500,000. Apart from that, FSB gives you 150,000 per annum. Then the NLNG gives you 300 to 350. Then other regional scholarships also pays. Then we also have the total scholarship. I think I kind of forgot that. So these are a lot of scholarships we have at our local level that we as undergrads at this level can actually start finding a way to have our hands on. Then for those that have finished their undergrad, whose level is 2. So for those that have finished their undergrad, whose next destination is a postgraduate, we also have some local scholarships in Nigeria that allows them to have their undergraduate studies totally free. We have the PTDF scholarship that allows people go to local institutions. Then we also have the NLNG, which allows people to also study locally. Then I think our biggest focus should be international scholarships. So for the international scholarships, we have countries that have a good partnership with Nigeria. So they have this kind of a shared platform where Nigerian students go to their country to study, either for them to return back after graduation or stay back. It depends on the contract they have with Nigeria. Then we also have some scholarship that's not kind of government tied, that allows you to do your stuff individually. And that's for this in countries like America, Australia, even some part of France, Germany, and the rest. A good example of this government enhanced scholarship is that we have the Commonwealth, in which the federal government kind of selects a few students that's going to England to study. Then also have the Commonwealth shared, which is kind of a bit more individual based. Then we have the Erasmus Mundus, in which you apply to European consortium of schools based on whatever you deem fit. Also, we have this in schools in America. Here you go to each different schools websites and kind of look at what they offer and if it kind of fits into what you like. And I believe we'll have our speaker here, Dr. Onyeka, that will kind of expand more on that. Also, we have the the PTDF for the international version of it, where you go to a country outside of Nigeria to enhance your studies, either at the master's level or the PhD level. And a whole host of them, which I might not be able to remember. We also have the Japanese federal government partnership, which is called the MEST, where you kind of go to Japan to study. I believe we also have a partnership with China. I know a few of my friends that kind of federal government sent to China to study, and a whole host of others. Now, the big picture will be like, who should apply Am I eligible? And I'm here to tell you that anybody can. So far you meet the minimum criteria. Minimum, you can. So far you have a bachelor degree, whether it is from whether it is from one of the best in Nigeria or the least rank, no. So far you have a degree, you're eligible to apply. Even if you have an HND. So we have what is called an evaluation board that kind of converts those HND results to kind of be like a 4.0 that is internationally recognized. Now, to the criteria that this scholarship body is kind of looking to. One of the basic and the most important is finishing with a 3.0 out of 4. I know in Nigeria, we use a 5-point scale system, but most international bodies kind of make use of the 4-point system. So you can actually find a way to convert your CGPA from a 5-point to a 4-point. And I believe there's a website for that. A good example is Colaro, and the second one is WES, which is WES evaluation. They can actually help you do that. Then the second one is having a transcript. So transcript is kind of a document that has a full list of all the courses you've taken, right from your first semester to your last semester. And it has the course, the course title, the unit attached to the course, and your grade. And I believe for FU, we are actually given the student copy after graduation. But that shouldn't be much of a biggie because you can actually compile your results you downloaded online. You don't have to wait till you have this is a signed document. You can actually, if your school kind of issue your results on paper, or they allow you to download online, you can download, convert everything to a PDF, and that's actually add your transcript. And one important thing again, you don't have to actually have a degree, like complete your degree to start this application process. I know two of my friends. I have okay, one is my mentee. I have one I'm mentoring, and the other one is kind of a casual friend. They are both in their final semester in undergraduate, but they have all gotten a fully funded PhD scholarship. One is going to this in Georgia Tech. The second is going to Northwestern University. And Northwestern University is kind of ranked top 20 in America. And what he did was just to compile his results. He has only 9 semesters finished because he's on a 5-year program. He just compiled this in his first semester for second semester from year 1 to 4th year and the first semester in a final year. Use that as his transcript, and that is more than enough. So that shouldn't also be a limit. Then your international passport, very important. If you actually have this intention of trying to go for this graduate studies outside the shores of the country, it's paramount you have your passport. You have to start now because we kind of understand how the process kind of works. Trying to get your passport in the country can take time. So this is actually the best time to start getting hold of that. And also, if you don't plan on applying now, I wouldn't advise you to kind of start this and get a passport because it's a 5 years. The validity of the passport is 5 years. So if you have intention of applying by next 2 years, it's not kind of good to get your passport now. That would be a waste of 2 years unless you have a different intention. But if you have those zeal of start applying within August or next year, now is the best time to get your passport. Then we have the letter of recommendation. This is where you have your your professors. Professors or anyone with a PhD, because right here we call anybody with any PhD holder a professor. So that's where you call a professor that really know you well to write a recommendation. And recommendation not just about he's a good boy, he's the most beautiful in class. No. It has to be a detailed written this is explanation of how the relationship you have with the professor has been. How was your participant in his or her class? What was your grade? Have you done any research with this applicant? What is his work ethics like? And all those kind of nice stuffs and all those generic, he's good, he's smart, and other stuff. Then we have what is called the application fee. I know a lot of us is going to frown at this application fee. You have to pay for most scholarships. There are some that are free, like the Commonwealth free, all those country-based scholarship is free. But if you're applying to schools individually, they sometimes insist that you pay a fee, which can range from $30 to $100. That is it. It can really be expensive. But you can actually apply for a waiver, because this kind of waiver that is granted to underrepresented countries like Nigeria. So that is kind of a way to kind of beat that. Then another thing again is the standardized text, because sometimes they kind of look at our degree. We have a bachelor we have a bachelor in political science, we have a bachelor in physics, a bachelor in chemistry, and all those cool. They don't actually understand how good or how sound our institution is. So some school kind of set a standardized text that kind of text your basic knowledge of stuffs. Example is the GRE, that's a graduate record exam. We have the GMAT for people that want to apply to business schools. Then we have the English proficiency, which is the IELTS and the TOEFL. IELTS if you're applying to Europe, and TOEFL if you're applying to any North or South American institutions. So this English proficiency is not all about testing if you are good with phonetics. No, it's all about basic grasp of English. How well can you comprehend? Because I know we have done a reading comprehension back to basic school, but when you kind of have a text that is not within your field, let's say I'm a physicist, I'm kind of cool with stuff with that related with astronomy and abstract things of the world. But if they kind of give me a test from the literature field, can I actually comprehend and explain what the author is talking about? So this is the English proficiency kind of text. How good can you comprehend English text, and how well can you speak? Not phonetics, like speak basic English. Then the GRE kind of look at O-level mathematics and how good is with arithmetics, and it's kind of hard, really hard. I'm saying it now, it's kind of sound easy. It's really, really hard. That is why most school adopt that. If you can scale the GRE, GMAT, and have a very good English score, it kind of makes you stand out. Then the most important is your CV. Your CV, it has to be well written. And this CV is kind of, it differs based on the scholarship you're applying. I know for the Erasmus Mundus, they have a different pattern for their CV. The Commonwealth has different. The Japanese MEST has different version of the CV. American school, Canadian, and what have you have different version of the CV. And the CV is not your resume. You don't have to use the resume you used to apply for a job and use for your school application. They are all different. Resume is kind of more focused on job. The CV is kind of more for academic pursuits. So you have to kind of know the difference between the two. And your CV should kind of look into having the mass 2-page. I know for European school, you kind of attach a picture to your CV, but in American, you don't do that. So you have to also understand what the different scholarship demands. Then some schools kind of demand for work sample. Now, what is this work sample? It's kind of, I know that's for people that are kind of applying for research focused studies. That's the STEM courses. So this work sample kind of look into what have you done in the past? Can we have kind of have a brisk summary of what you've done? It can actually be your thesis, that's your project, or a paper you've authored or co-authored with someone. Can you actually summarize this and send to the admission body to kind of have a look? It's actually optional, not most school demand that, but it's kind of cool to also start thinking, how do I get all these requirements? So all I've listed now is kind of the basic requirement for most schools. There might be something extra. They might demand your king to write a letter and other stuff, depending on the constitution body. But for what I kind of listed now is the basics that's kind of generic to all schools application or all country-based application. Now, I think I'm a bit fast, and let me kind of slow things down. We should kind of focus on what do I have to start doing right now. I've known the documents that are required for me to apply, but right now I'm in my 300 level, I'm in my 200 level, I'm in my final year. What should be my priority? And the first thing I will tell you is to start saving money. If you know a way you can get colo, that's normal wooden boss, you dip money, get it. And don't save old Naira. It's be a counterfeit by 4 days from now. Start saving the new currency. If you are going to have a piggy vest, you can open that and start saving those small chunks of money that you used to buy shawarma. All those 1,000, 2,000 matters. Because there are some schools that won't waive your application fee. You must pay. And you have to pay. Then the standardized test doesn't come cheap. As of today, the GRE costs like up to 120K. It is what it is. So right now, those money you have that you think you can use it for something miscellaneous, just save that. Let the miscellaneous be for your grad school application when due. Open a piggy vest, get a wooden boss or anything safe for you to save the money. Then you have to start volunteering. Because I missed something very important in your requirements, which is the SOP. That's the statement of purpose, the statement of intent, depending on how they kind of condition the grammar. The SOP is the most important document because it kind of gives a picture of who the applicant is. Because the admission committee doesn't know you. You have to tell them a story. This is me. This is where I'm coming from. This is my motivation. This is why I'm attached to this school. This is the reason I need to go for these graduate studies. So the SOP kind of gives them like a kind of a mental picture of everything about the applicant. And I believe other speakers will kind of explain the SOP based on the different scholarships they're going to speak on. But generally, the SOP is kind of more about you and why that school. Either there is a professor in that school that you love his or her research, or you have a research ongoing locally that you want to advance, or whatever is your reason. So for you to get all this research experience that you love to write on your SOP, because grad school kind of love looking at your past work. You can't just wake up after spending 8 CX in your state as a political thug and say that you want to advance to grad school. No, you have to be doing something reasonable academic-wise or something like that. So how do you get this experience? It's by volunteering. It might not be in the lab or working with your professor. You can actually work with an NGO that kind of carries some research. You can even work with others COVID affiliated NGOs to kind of do some data analysis or kind of do something reasonable that kind of advance your research. Apart from that, another opportunity to get research experience is the CWES as an undergraduate. We have to also take that serious. I know during my time, I was never opportune to be advised like this. It was kind of a scheme for us to look for companies that can pay us money. We are looking for, are you going to Total they pay more, Shell pays more. I think going to let's say a federal government house pays more. That was our focus then. I wasn't advised. But I think that even the money is important. Yeah, money is very important. But also look at opportunities to get research experience or good industrial experience that's kind of aligned with your field if you have the focus of going to grad school. For instance, let's assume I'm an electrical engineer and I have intention of going to grad school. My focus should be on doing my CWES in a company that kind of aligns with what I'm doing. not just doing COS anywhere. If I'm actually opportune to see the one that pays me good money and also do work that is related to my field, I would grasp that, because those experience, when it's due time, you realize that it really, really matters. Then another one should be writing quality thesis. As a final year student, we have the opportunity to write our project. And sometimes we are given the opportunity to choose topics. Sometimes it's just a topic handed to us by our assigned advisor. We don't have a choice. But you can actually tweak things to work in your favor. Because you might be opportune to have an interview with a professor you love to work with, and they ask you, tell me about your research. You can't just kind of tell them about something someone has done like 80 years and you kind of do a little packaging. Now, let's make use of this opportunity we have now to write quality thesis. Make sure we talk with our advisor that this is what I want to do, or even the advisor has a different research he or she wants you to do. Make sure you do that and really do it well. Having a sound thesis, it's really, really, really important. Then another one is connecting with alumni. So this is one of the most important things you should be doing now, like something like this. Trying to attend talks like this and pick the brains of the speakers by asking smart questions, or also trying to know the schools they are and check if the school also offers the kind of research you are interested. Not just that, it's kind of good to network apart from a scholarship. Having a very strong network, it's really, 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 really important. Then another one again is building a good relationship with our professors. See, one of the hardest thing in this application is getting letters of recommendation. It's really, really hard. Not just, I believe there is no faculty member here. So it's kind of hard to get good letters of recommendation. I don't know why it's that way, but I've seen a lot of people that lost their scholarships offer because their recommenders couldn't submit on time, or maybe they kind of wrote something generic. I don't know why they do that, or they can just write something, I don't know. So this is actually a good time for you to start building that connection with your professor. Be good to them. I'm not saying you should allow yourself to get bullied. No, you can actually be good, smart, connect in class, kind of ask smart questions, try to get good grades in that professor's class. Try to volunteer, like let's say they have I know sometimes in school, I remember then Dr. Adekunle kind of hosted an event. You can kind of volunteer to act like an usher or anything that can actually help. That way, kind of build a relationship. Like, oh, I know those students. During my this event I hosted, he or she really helped, and from there, they can, oh, I can write something good about this person. So this is actually the best time to do that, because after graduation, you have lost that. You will be at the mercy of whoever that will be your recommender. Then the last one will be making good use of social media. Social media should never be underestimated. Apart from having this talk, you can get valid information on LinkedIn and academic Twitter. Not just going to Twitter to talk about APC, PDP. Yeah, politics is good, it's important. But if a grad school, it's what you need, I think it should kind of be paramount. I don't know for you. So academic Twitter is a good place for you to get good grasp of information you need. LinkedIn is also where you see professors advertising positions in their lab, or some scholarship bodies announcing that it is time for them to start taking application. So that should be for that. Then one more thing that I think is also important, it's like this grad school stuff, like for the, this international focus, is not a JAPA screen. It's not a JAPA scheme. Yes, it's actually a JAPA because you're leaving the country. But the biggest goal shouldn't be to leave the country. It's all about to make yourself better. Just like Ghost Times said, you are going to grad school to kind of be a listener, a problem solver. And you think leaving the shores of Nigeria is the best step for you to do that. Yes, you're going to Japa, but it shouldn't just be kind of centered on Japa. Because if you centered on Japa, you go Japa in Tabush, to be honest. I know some scholars that left the country that they wish they could go back, because where they are is not actually where they're supposed to. So before you start planning, plan your steps really well. Don't just say, I want to travel. You might travel and it won't be the best of things you expected, and you just suffer for it, or just waste a year or two. So I think the last thing I'm going to talk about is why grad school. Is grad school the important step for me? Because it's not everybody that's supposed to go to grad school. There are people that's supposed to kind of work in the country, advance their advance themselves in whatever field they kind of focus on, become entrepreneurs, build businesses that work for them in Nigeria. Yeah, there's some that even go to China to do business or do whatever. Grad school is not for everybody. No, but there are things you kind of start thinking that you realize that grad school actually for me, it is my next big step. If you think that you are kind of a problem solver, that you believe that the problem of the country, society of the world, the problem of the world is something that you can actually contribute to solve. You're kind of interested in how to solve climate issues. You're kind of seeking for ways to kind of tackle terrorism in Nigeria, just like Ghost Time. You're kind of trying to look at how to improve medical imaging like me. You're trying to look at how to do something that you believe that advancing your degree from the bachelor level is your next step, then grad school is for you. If you think that you want to be an independent researcher, that is having a PhD, just like our doc here, Onyeka, then grad school should be your next step. If you see yourself as collaborating with elites in your field, let's say I'm a physicist, I'm kind of looking into one day I want to win a Nobel Prize, then I have to go to grad school. I must be a PhD holder. If you come to command respect in your field, I know then just like I'm going to talk like my HOD then. He'll be like, hey, this is a professor talking. You have to keep mute. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. I'm just like trying to like the kind of respect those academians kind of command. So if that's kind of thing that interests you, we have different things that kind of move stuff. If that's what you kind of see out, I love being a doctor, to be called a doctor. I love the title. Then you have to go to grad school to get that. If you love to earn skill that will get you your dream job, you have to go to grad school. Yeah, the bachelor's level is good, but there's some skills you will need. Just like the last speaker that's going to talk to us about life after grad school, Mr. Samuel. There are skills you have to learn at the master's level. That's what you need to advance your degree. So if you see yourself as ticking all those boxes or any of them, then I think grad school should be the next step for you. So I believe I've taken most of your time talking, and I would love to conclude. So to kind of round up everything I've spoken, I think things will kind of pick from this is that grad school is really good. If you think it's actually the next step for you, you have to start looking at those scholarships that can apply, that can take me there. I think I kind of made something important. Grad school is open to everybody, but you actually need a scholarship to kind of fund it. Anybody can go to grad school. Anybody, you just apply. But it's really expensive to self-fund. Like when I check how much my school pays every semester for me, I'll be like, wow, my dad in the next 100 years can't even afford that. And not just that, you're even paid monthly, just being a scholar. Like end of the month, we celebrate like all those that is salary earners. Some even earn bi-weekly. So it's not actually going to be easy. Just like Ghost Time said, it's going to take your time like years. He said a year, but me, I will tell you, it can even take years. You might even apply, you won't even get it at the first attempt, second attempt, third attempt. But it's all about tenacity, improving yourself. The first application might be awful, yeah. No matter even if you attend all the seminars on this, You might still end up making mistake. Yeah, it happens, but you just have to learn and build from that. I know during my application, I got a lot of rejection, but at least I was able to get a yes during my first application cycle. Not everybody might be opportune to be that lucky, but you have to be strong if you're actually thinking of undergoing this journey. Then one more thing is this thing, ensure you work as a group. It's kind of cool when you have a group, you share ideas. I'll be like, oh, uh, uh, MTN scholarship is available. Someone else kind of drop in your group like, oh, I think PTF scholarship is available now. Or you can even kind of in some scholarship kind of allows you to write an exam. You can start having a group discussion on how best or what strategy. I can remember during my GRE prep, I was kind of lucky to have a good GRE score because I had a group that we kind of focused on, and our sole goal was to ace the GRE. When you kind of discover a pattern on how to answer this kind of question, you kind of share, because all those standardized exam is kind of pattern based. There are ways you can actually answer a question. Then when you see the next question, you don't even need to solve anything. You know what the answer is going to be. Just like I said, the requirement is 3.0. But sometimes with a CGP of less than 3.0 out of 4, some schools still allows you. Yeah. Your chance is very small, slim. But slim is still a chance. 1 out of 10 is still something. It's not a 0. So if you kind of see yourself in this category of a CGPA less than 3, I said 3 out of 4, not 3 out of 5, because 3 out of 5 still fall under 3 out of 4. So if you have a low CGPA, some schools kind of allows you to kind of write that. That's where you make it good of your SOP. You kind of write, not just trying to tell them that there was strike or your dad doesn't have money to pay school fees. No. You have to come up with something reasonable, something convincing enough. It might work, it might not work, but you lose nothing by trying. Then also, you don't have to be country centric. Some people will be like Erasmus, Mundus or nothing, America or nothing, a Commonwealth or nothing. No, that is why then when we write JAMB, you have this first choice, second choice, third choice. There's a reason for that. In case the first shot kind of miss, at least I can learn something good. Have a list of this is what I want to do, so that in case you miss the first batch, at least the second batch can kind of work out for you. Then also apply both locally and internationally. Don't kind of neglect the local scholarship, because sometimes your skill at the bachelor won't be enough or convincing enough for the admission committee. So advancing your degree in Nigeria, like having a master's, can really, really help, because masters kind of give you the opportunity to do an independent research, take advanced courses. So as you're applying for local scholarships, international scholarships, also apply for local scholarships. So if the first one doesn't work, the option B can be your savior. Then what else do I have to say? Pick a program that kind of fits to your strengths. Like, don't just wake up one day with because I have a bachelor in linguistics, and I realized that AI is the biggest paying field, and wake up and start applying to AI. After taking a bottle of whatever with a bachelor in economics, and I would go like, oh, I want to apply to a doctorate in it's a doctorate in biology. Now it works, but if you want to do that, you have to start creating the pipeline that we're going to connect from where you are now to where you want to be. Maybe you start doing research in that new field, or you start writing papers, or you start collaborating in that new field. At least it's something to kind of convince whoever that is reading your application that, oh, even though I have a bachelor in this, my interest kind of changed over years, and this is what I want to do. The chance is kind of slim, but it's still a chance. But it's kind of good to kind of focus your your interest or your application in your strengths. There's some courses that we kind of, some degrees we take, some majors that are the same. some majors we take in our undergraduate that's kind of interdisciplinary. For instance, as a physicist, I can see myself working as a chemical engineer. I can even apply to graduate studies in material engineering, comp science, what have you. Or even as a linguistics, there are things that kind of, you can even apply to some international studies and other stuff. Yes, you have to ensure that whatever you do is kind of interdisciplinary. But when there's no link at all, don't just do that. It might work for you, but don't kind of focus most of application in that experiment. Maybe you're doing like 20 or 15 application. You can kind of limit it to like 2 or 3, then let the 12 be based on your strengths. I have this strategy: strengthen your strengths, then your weakness should kind of sort itself out. So that is basically all I have to say before I elapse the 30 minutes I'm given. So if you have any question based on what I've said, I think August time you can coordinate it and unmute mic for anybody. Thank you for listening.
All right, thank you very much, Ekena, for that powerful presentation. I believe that most of us who are in this session tonight are able to take good notes of all that has been said. I would like to say that we would take questions towards the end of the session. That means after all speakers have spoken, we just take questions randomly and I will assign questions based on the area you've covered. I don't know if that, I think that should be fine. So
okay, that works for me.
So we'll quickly move to the next speaker. Joshua Tazi will be talking about the PTDF scholarship briefly. Now, I would like to say that the PTDF, unlike Commonwealth, Chevening, Erasmus, Mundus, and other scholarships, the PTDF scholarship is meant basically for Nigerians. So it doesn't provide international students funding. Actually, it's basically meant for Nigerians who are studying either in Nigeria or outside Nigeria. You can also drop your questions in the chat box. We will be able to select them randomly during the questions and answer session and provide you the needed feedback to address your concern. So once again, thank you very much again, and thank you for all participants for coming. So Joshua, up to you. Joshua, can you hear me? You just give me a moment.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, so you can go ahead.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you, Ekena, for that very explicit speech. You basically said everything because you got across the local scholarship and the international scholarship, how it's supposed to be purpose driven. So you've basically said almost everything. So I would be a bit more direct with what I'm saying. So can you see my screen? Because I was trying to share my screen.
I can see your screen. I can see your screen.
Okay. So the PTDF scholarship, it's an indigenous scholarship, as Gostime said. Almost everyone in Nigeria know about the PTDF scholarship, which is the Petroleum Technology Development Fund. So what they do basically is to develop indigenous human capacity for the petroleum technology, for the petroleum industry and thereabout. But lately, there are some opportunities that have been given to studies that are not petroleum based directly, because I know a couple of persons that went for medical related courses and thereabout. So I think to apply to this scholarship, you should go all out to apply for this scholarship despite your course of studies. Some persons would be like, it's petroleum. I haven't studied any petroleum related course, so I shouldn't be applying and all. So you could always go to the website, the PTDF website, where you see like a list of all the courses you could apply to, and search for a course that is related to your field or what you could do. Now, there's a course like safety in the PTDF list of course. I don't think there's any course in Nigeria that is purely on HSC, but you could, if that's what you feel like doing, like you'd feel like, oh, okay, I'm done with school. I'm not pursuing like a master's to go into the academia or a PhD to go into the academia. I want to work in the industry. You could pick up the HSC role or any other direct skilled based course and go for. So having said that, we have the OSS scholarship and we have the in-country scholarship. Ikenna spoke a bit of the in-country scholarship, where a couple of persons in Federal University Otuoke were able to benefit from. But then there's the overseas scholarship scheme, which the PTDF have like a collaboration with some UK schools and some schools in France, Malaysia, China, and France. Sorry, it's called GMFC, Germany, Malaysia, France, China, and the UK. Now there's something very peculiar about the UK and GMFSC scholarship, because the UK scholarship, it's will I say, all of them are fully funded scholarship, but the difference between the UK and GMFSC is the tuition fee. In UK, you pay a huge amount for fees, but in Germany, France, China, not necessarily China and Malaysia, but most especially Germany and France, there's no tuition fee. I think there's just like a registration fee, which is almost insignificant, because it's around 230 euros to 270 euros, which is very, very small compared to the thousands of fees paid in the UK. Gostan can attest to that. So the some benefits from the PTDF scholarship is that you get your tuition fees covered because it's fully funded. You get your flight tickets to and fro from your school. If it's a 1-year program, you get your flight tickets and to go, and upon 1 year completion of 1 year studies, you come back. But Germany, France, Malaysia, China, it's 2 years schooling. It's a 2 years master's program. So that's one of the difference between the UK scholarship and the GMFC rather, as I always call it, because for Germany, France, Malaysia, China, the master's is 2 years, and you have your living expenses covered. for I can't disclose exactly how much PTDF pay for international students because I don't know, it's quite confidential. But then it is they try as much as possible to pay like a standard there's a standard fee that should meet the minimum living wage, for a month. And trust me, it is an amount that is sustainable. It's an amount that you can live by. Okay, so you have nothing to worry when it comes to your living expenses. They go as far as paying your bench fees. That's the amount they give you for maybe research purposes. Then another thing I'll be talking about is your eligibility. Who is eligible to apply to the PTDF scholarship? Just as I said earlier, it's an indigenous scholarship, so it is eligible for every Nigerian, in as much as you meet the basic requirements, which is similar to the applications for the in-country scholarship. So you need your normal O-level credits. You have a properly written statement of purpose, just like Iken has said earlier. A minimum of second-class upper qualification. Second-class lower is also accepted, but you would need relevant industry experience, the compulsory national youth service. Yeah, that's basically it. And for the PhD, you would need a properly written research, and then you make an interview where you make a presentation where you show your research area, what you plan to solve, just a properly written research. Okay, now the big question is, how does the PTDF scholarship works? How do you apply for the scholarship? And how do you maybe select your program? Now, just as I said earlier, that the PTDF has a collaboration with France, Germany, Malaysia, and China. For scholarship to France, there's a collaboration between the PTDF and Campus France. While for Germany, there's a collaboration between PTDF and DAD. Have in mind that there's a German-based scholarship, which is handled or sponsored by DAD, but then there's a DAD PTDF scholarship, and there's a Campus France PTDF scholarship. For Malaysia, China, it's almost run the same way it's done in the UK. Though recently, I noticed in the last application, there wasn't China included in the list of countries to apply to. And I think it was mostly because of COVID and the restrictions China had placed for international migration and all. So, yeah, so before you get the scholarship or after you've gotten the scholarship, it is advised to apply or seek for admission via the Campus France website. I don't know what's wrong with my screen. Okay. For the Campus France website, I was going to show this. Yes, it's called the Etudes en France website, which is studies in France. So for
Hello, Joseph, can you hear me?
yeah.
I think what we are seeing on the screen here is thanks. So the information you are sharing is not really showing here. So I don't know if you could work on that.
Oh, shit. Okay. So before applying to for studies in France, you come to the Etudes en France website where you could search for the course, whatever course you had chosen to study. You could see here you say looking for a training. So when you come here, you could I'm looking for a training, maybe let's say organic chemistry. And it brings all the schools that offer this course. Now, most persons have the fear of going to maybe France or Germany, Malaysia, China because of language barrier, but there are programs in France. In fact, all the programs on the PTDF sites are English taught programs. So if you come here, you'll see taught in English programs. So every program under the taught in English are taught in English. So you are looking at English taught programs, okay? So you come here and you select the program you have in mind, okay? Now, what the Campus France or what this Etudes en France website does for you is you don't really have to apply to the school by using this website, okay? You make your application here, you choose the course you want to study, you go to there are columns where you fill, let's say your name, your educational qualifications, the school you have in mind, or the course you've chosen, whatever. Now, you submit the application, but then you have to pay a fee. It is, I don't know, there's a name for the fee, it's called application. Not really application, because normally application goes to the school, but the money you are paying is to the Campus France, and they help submit your application to as many schools you've chosen. Now, by using this Etudes en France website, you could apply to as much as 7 different schools in just one application. Okay, so there are 2 things. It's either you are using this Etudes en France website to gain admission that you would use for PTDF scholarship, or you are using the Etudes en France website to apply to schools to get a different scholarship from the PTDF scholarship. Now, the good thing is, for each course you've chosen on the Etudes en France website, you could write a statement of purpose or a letter of motivation, whichever one is requested of you. Then the people working in Campus France, they take your application and submit to these different schools. And then if your application is accepted and they feel you are qualified for their scholarship, because almost all the schools in France have a kind of indigenous scholarship from their graduate schools. Okay, so they could request to call you for an interview. In fact, you do like two times interview by using the Etudes en France website. You have an interview first with the Campus France team, where they check the originality of your credentials. And then you do like a second interview where you'll be answering questions directly from maybe from the school or yearly questions. Like these questions are already there, you answer them, and you they will know your interest and whatever you how will I put this? Now, you answer this question. It's either you're having like a direct conversation with your interviewers, or they give you a pre-established question to answer, and then they already have a picture of or every information they would be needing from you. Okay, so that is basically that for the Etudes en France website. Now, for the German scholars, for people that would want to go to Germany, you have to apply for admission via the VEDAD, or you. Now, this is what happens. Upon getting the PTDEF scholarship, you are expected to seek admission, okay, in whatever country you've requested to go to. Now, it is one thing to get the PTDF scholarship, and it is another thing to gain an admission to any of the schools. It's possible that you can get the PTDF scholarship, and at the end of the day, your scholarship is like nullified because you are unable to gain admission in either of the country you've chosen, whether Germany or France or Malaysia or China. So it is advisable that if you plan to go for the PTDF scholarship, you seek for this admission before applying, okay? So that you don't have to start running around for at like 9 minutes and all. Now, the admission window for Campus France that I know of, I don't know much about that. The admission window for France is around October to December every year. That's when the Etudes en France website is available for applicants. Now, there's a possibility of gaining admission outside the Etudes en France website. How do you do that? There are some schools, if you log into the Etudes en France website, for each school, you would see maybe like a blue dot or a green dot. So I can't really go in now and show all that in details, but beside it, you would see that you'll notice that there are some schools that have direct admission processes with Campus France. What do I mean by that? For a school that has a direct application process with Campus France, you don't have to make any application to the school. You have to apply directly from the Etudes en France website. And now there are some schools that after applying through the Etudes en France website, you have to still go to the school's website and request for admission. Okay, so it's like a two-way process. And then there could be some schools as well that would accept admission outside the Etude en France website. But in all of these admission processes, you still have to come back to the Etude en France website, where you, instead of clicking on I am looking for an admission or application request, you are now going to I have an admission, or I have been admitted. So by clicking on I have been admitted, you would be filling in your admission letter you've gotten from the school, and then the campus Etude en France, which is Campus France, will help you with all your visa processes. Okay, so that's basically that for the Etude en France studies in France.
Have you round up, Joshua?
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
So
So, yeah, thank you very much. But I just want to ask a quick question before we move to the next speaker. Apart from the PTDF scholarship, okay, so when you apply to schools in France via Campus France, how many universities do you think that provides funding for international applicants?
now I would use my school for as an example. Okay, now I am in the CBH graduate school. It's called Chimie Biology and Health Graduate School. Okay, which is Chemistry, Biology, and Health Graduate School. Okay, so the Chemistry, Biology, and Health Graduate School have their own funding. Okay, so you could apply directly for such funding, or you are applying during the admission processes. You are trying to get the admission. Maybe you state it in maybe your in your statement of purpose that you've maybe applied. You are applying for admission because you are trying to apply for the French government scholarship, because there's French government scholarship. There is even the Erasmus Mundus scholarship. As you've said earlier, or Iken has said it. Okay, so basically all the schools in France have their indigenous scholarships. Okay, so let me
International students.
yes, for international. So let me share my screen and show you. A minute, please.
Yeah, it's fine.
So you see, programs in English. Let me say this is a situation where
You
maybe
can't see your new screen yet.
Oh, sorry.
I think you should stop sharing the previous one, then try to share again. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So you can see exchange programs. This is maybe for
Erasmus, right?
some, yes, yeah, an Erasmus scholar in one of the Schengen countries, and maybe you want to come to the University Grenoble, you could come through these exchange programs. These are other degree programs. These are programs in English. Okay,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
you come here. Now, you see, this is registration and scholarship. It's
Yeah.
like both written on the website, and
Okay.
for the application, there are two sessions for to make this application. The first phase was, I'll use was because I think this was for last year, from the 28th of March to the 15th of April. Okay. Then from the 25th of April to the 13th of April included. Now, this is how it works. The University Grenoble app, for example, has a direct application via the Etude en France website. Okay. Now, after making your application, which is supposed to end around December, from January, they'll start maybe calling you for
Interviews.
interviews and so on and so forth. Okay.
Okay.
Now, the dates you are seeing here is possibly when maybe
The next application is actually opening, right? Okay.
um
Yeah. Sorry. I think entries for France universities, schools in France are also September, October, right?
yes, it's bit from October. Now, I'm talking specifically for application via the Etude en France website.
All right.
Okay. Outside that, there's a fall admission process and spring. Okay, but for applications via the Etude en France website, you have to make applications from October to
To December.
December. Okay,
Okay.
now after you've made your what is it called application, if you've been if you are accepted for the indigenous scholarship, there are two sections, okay, which is from the 28th of March to 15th of April. I don't think this section is application for the scholarship. I think there's a mistake because for Nigerians, most especially now, Campus France is in every country. So there's Campus France Nigeria. So if you are applying from Campus France Nigeria.
All right, so that is fine. All I just wanted to know is that there is actually full funding for these opportunities because majority of her audience, mostly coming from Africa, graduate school, like Ekena mentioned, is really expensive. So I just want to be sure that there is actually funding for that. So if there is funding, I think that is okay. So we'll actually move the session to the next speaker. So you could actually stop sharing. You probably would stay. There are questions for you, but we would like to take all the questions together, so it could be easier for us to just give that session to questions and answer and randomly address all the issues. So our next speaker will be Onyeka. Is a PhD candidate at the University of Utah, United States, and he will be telling us the US graduate school application process, okay? The tips and all you need to do, preparing you to start applying for your scholarships from this year against next year. So Doc, you're welcome. Can you hear me, Doc? Oh, sorry.
Okay,
Can you?
thank you
Yeah,
for
so
unmuting
sorry.
me.
So sorry you were muted, actually. So sorry about that.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, nice to be here. I'm actually glad that a lot of people came enthused about how you guys are like trying to plan for your futures, you know. Okay, so I'll go straight forward. I'll just share my screen pretty quickly and just start from there. So I'll be covering majority of things about applying for grad school in the United States. And yeah, just to answer the few questions that came up earlier, yes, there's 100% scholarships available in the United States. Okay. Okay, cool. So for my part of this discussion, I'll just be going through why graduate studies in the US, the funding types available, the basic requirements, master's versus PhD application timeline, and what you need to know with starting your application. So thank you very much to Ikenna for actually giving a good introduction, and thank you, Joshua, for giving us information about studying in France and the PTDF scholarship. Okay, so why grad school in the US? So first off, you know, the US has top institutions in the world, and it's aside it having like top institution, it has a lot of institutions. And so with a lot of institutions, there are a lot of opportunities, right? And so with a lot of opportunities, you know, it makes it easier to find something that really fits you in the US. And so you know, with most of these schools, there are also like funding opportunities there. So you may look at one school for a particular course you want to take, and they don't have funding, while you have like 50, hundreds more schools that actually do have this. Yeah. So yeah, they have a variety of options to choose from. They have different methods of funding opportunities. So just for clarification's sake, so when I refer to funding, I mean like scholarships, how you literally would pay for your school, your studies. And lastly, US degrees are recognized globally. And so usually it's hard for you to go places with a US degree seeking job employment, and you know, you get turned down, but that also depends on a variety of factors. Okay, so okay, cool. Sorry, I'm trying to remove the Zoom icon from blocking my view. Okay, so what should you know before starting your application? So as I said earlier, like fundings are all the varieties of ways for which you can pay for schooling in the US. And it's literally what, you know, we in Nigeria refer to as scholarships. And so there are two major types, really. The first is fellowship. The second is assistantships. Now, in fellowships, fellowships usually come with less stringent terms and conditions, in terms of like, you have terms and conditions, but it's like you don't have to work for it. While assistantships, you have to do some kind of work. So in assistantship, the whole idea is like you're working while you're schooling, right? And so the effort you put towards the working aspect, be it research, be it teaching undergraduate students, or be it even working in offices, is actually what pays for your tuition, and to an extent also gives you some form of stipend that covers your cost of living here in the US. And so let's see. Okay, so in terms of fellowships, right, you have just broad fellowships. There are different kind of fellowships. Most of this information you'd get really from the schools. Yeah, in terms of assistantships, you have broadly around 3 types of assistantships, really. You have research assistantship. In research assistantship, you are either a master's student or a PhD student, and you are working in a lab or in a research group, and that research group is paying, or your work there is paying for actually your tuition and your cost of living. So by doing research, you actually cover the cost of your tuition and as well as the cost of living also. Now, the other type of assistantship is a teaching assistantship. Now, in teaching assistantship, you it's actually 2 types of teaching assistantship. One, you can either assist a professor in like some parts of the class. Let's assume maybe marking of assignments, preparing the class for lectures and all that, while other forms you actually do teach. You teach, you take tutorials, you take classes and all that. And in terms of graduate assistantship, now, graduate assistantship is somewhat broad, but in this definition, right, I use it in any other thing that isn't research or teaching. So you may get a job at the library, and that job actually covers your tuition and cost of living. That's a graduate assistantship. You may get a job at different areas of the university, the graduate school office, different offices. And if those jobs actually give you tuition waiver, if those jobs come with tuition waiver benefits and stipends, then those jobs are referred to as graduate assistantships also. And most of these informations are actually out there on like schools, on the school's website there as part of means of funding. Okay, so in terms of the basic requirements for getting into graduate school, I don't know if I skipped something, but as we'll go out, see if I did skip something. So as Ikenna introduced earlier some of the requirements, I'll just try to talk a little bit more about this requirement. So the first on my list is really the CGPA and transcripts. So for most schools, even outside the US and in the US, you need to have a CGPA, right? You need to at least have attended an undergraduate institution. And so usually your CGPA, your cumulative grade point average, matters a lot in your application. Now, I previously did not want to put a limit there so as not to make you feel like, oh yeah, I have a 2.5 out of a 4.0 grade scale and I can't, get admission in schools. That's not true. But I think putting this limit here, 3.0 out of 4, would help you know in a way where you stand and see what other ways you can actually use to make your application stronger. What other things you can do to make your application stronger? So yes, usually you should have a degree close to or relating to what you're studying. But the beauty about the United States is, people call it a land of opportunity, which truly it is. If you want to go for a master's, if you want to go for a PhD, you can actually have the flexibility of doing something not related to your undergraduate studies, which is interesting. All you need to do is show the admissions committee strong rationale for which you want to do this and show them how you've worked towards getting into this different field, right? I know people, a very close one really is like, I know someone who did, who has a BS in anatomy and decided to go into computer science for his master's, and he's done with his master's. And also interested, I know a professor of biochemistry who for their undergrad did English. So that's how crazy it can get sometimes. But the reality is have a mindset that you can do anything. There's literally nothing stopping you. Like, everything you feel is hard really isn't hard, but it's just needs like more hard work from you and optimization, and you're going to get there, really. Okay, so CGPA of 3.0 out of a 4-point scale. Also something to keep in mind is, right, you see a CGPA of 3.0 out of 4, and then you ask yourself, oh, but in Nigeria, we have a 5-point scale or a 7-point scale, depending on the school, right? And then you ask yourself, how do I, convert this? You look online. The simplest way really is literally simple mathematics. 3/4, right? Literally, you can convert 3/4 to 100% scale. Likewise, you can convert, let's say, your 5-point scale to a 4-point scale. So for example, if someone has 3.5 out of 5, all they need to do is literally 3.5 divided by 5, then multiply it by whatever scale you're using. So if you want to transfer it to the US scale, it's literally 3.5 divided by 5 times 4, because 4 is the US scale, right? If you're applying to a country that, let's say, uses 7, all you need to do is 3.5 divided by 4 times 7. Now, usually this gives you, a rough estimate that you can actually use to grade yourself. A good amount of schools will ask for transcript evaluation, where the transcript evaluation will try to tell the schools that, okay, this students did this courses, and this courses, this is how it is from their country, and we are converting it to how it is in the US. And so the school can actually rank the students properly for admission purposes. But a good amount of schools don't actually use this evaluation also. Now, in terms of evaluation, right, if depending on how it is, so sometimes the cost of the whole application process may be really expensive, right? And sometimes for some people to cut cost, what they do is literally look for schools that do not require evaluation. Now, the good part of that is, well, when you look for schools that do not require evaluation, well, you work based on your budget, right? You maybe save a few amount of money. But the bad part of that is in situations where there are actually schools that you can get admission to, and the basic requirements of getting your transcript evaluated, you're like, okay, I'm not going to do this because I don't have much money to do this, or I don't want to spend money to do this. But you lose that opportunity, right? Your choice of schools reduces. So what I'm trying to say is, with a transcript evaluation, you have more schools that you can apply to. And generally, the higher the number of schools you can apply to and the number of schools you do apply to, the more your chances of getting admission and funding, right? So if you apply to one university, you have literally close to 1 or 0 chance, right? If you apply to 2 universities, you have either 2 out of the 2 chances to get it, or you have 0 chance, or you have 1 chance. So the more applications you make, the more your chances are. Now, so down to the next part, which is CV and resume. Sometimes you see on admissions requirements that they require you to submit your CV, and some schools put resume. In whatever case it is, right, you need to understand that whatever they're asking you is an academic CV. And an academic CV is mostly tailored to, in a way, research, because look at it, you're applying for a master's and or a PhD. And if it's, and most of these are literally higher degrees where to a good extent you're going to be doing research. And so they want to see your research background. What have you done in research? Because for the fact that the way you finance your school would be maybe through research or teaching or what have you, they want to see your experience in research and teaching. just to know that, yes, they are not going to have to start from scratch, really, and that you know at least something, you have some skills that you are bringing on the table. So as Ikenna said, if you're going to do internships, you want to be sure that you do internships that may actually help you, right? Don't go after the money, but go after what can actually make your CV awesome, great, what you can really talk about. And people will say, yes, you have something that, we want to give you this admission for. Yeah, and generally the US CV, you don't have to put a passport or usually identifiable data, because you don't have to put male, female, and the rest of those identifiable details there. So the next requirement is your letter of recommendation. So on my list, I have planned for 3 to 4 letters of recommendations. Most schools usually require 2 letters of recommendations. Some schools, exceptions, require 3 letters of recommendation. But why is it good to have 3 to 4 letters of recommendations? So with the idea that right now already I'm telling you that a smart person who is applying for applications or for scholarships wouldn't just limit themselves to applying for only one scholarship, right? They want to apply to as much scholarships, as much schools as possible, so as to increase their chances and opportunity of getting one, or getting like more than one, and then deciding which of the offers they have has the best terms and condition for them to accept it, right? And so for each of these applications, you need letters of recommendations, and it's a good thing to have backup letters of recommendation. So if a school requires 2 letters of recommendation, you give them 2, right? What if those 2 people you used earlier are not available to send you a letter of recommendation for the next 2 schools, right? Now you have 2 more backups somewhere that you can really go and ask for. So, have backup letters of recommendation. And mind you, letters of recommendations, I think right now it's a global trend, right? No one is going to give you an opportunity to upload letters of recommendation. All they do is to give you a box where you input the email address of your recommender, right? And then they send a link to the recommender, and the recommender sends the letter of recommendation, uploads it. So that's generally how it is for a lot of scholarships, fellowships, and applications moving forward. So if you have a recommender, depending on how close you are with the recommender, it's a good idea to talk about your applications to your recommender, like, hey, I have this school I want to apply for. The deadline is this. Can I use you as a recommender? If they say yes, you go ahead and put their email address there and tell them and let them know that, oh, I've added you as a recommender. You should have received an email. I think one of the things that takes time sometimes with applications, why some people actually miss application, is you finished an application before the deadline, but the deadline is inclusive of the school receiving your letter of recommendation, and the recommender forgets to turn in the letter of recommendation. Without the letter of recommendation, they cannot assess you. They cannot really assess you, and so you're losing out. So letter of recommendation, very, very important. The next group of documents you require is your application essays. And these essays could come in form of a statement of purpose, like you can earlier said. It could be a motivational essay. It could be some form of even diversity statements. So with this essays, the basic themes there is really to highlight yourself. It's literally like the broader version of your CV in the sense that your CV, they see what you've done and everything, but in your SOP or your essays, you tell them what motivated you to doing this and why you even wanted a degree in the first place. You show them your passion for which you want these things, how literally how good or how well you want it, right? You tell them, the story. You tell them reasons for which, even if you were to read your SOP, would you give yourself the scholarship, right? So I think a good rule of thumb I tell people is, when you're writing an SOP, after you write an SOP, give it to people around you to read, and they would point out things, that you can actually do better. And second, very importantly, is that when you write an SOP, assess the SOP yourself. Read it as if you had money and you wanted to give someone, in this hard economy, and you wanted to give someone and the person had to prove themselves. Would you give them with the SOP you wrote? So that's a good way to assess yourself and make things interesting and actually improve your SOP. And letters of statement of motivations also. And yes, the next part is standardized tests. So there was a question earlier if GRE is really important. Okay, so before I answer that question, I'll just elaborate more on standardized tests. So there are two groups of standardized tests, right? I think Iken said this earlier, but I'll still hit on it. You have the one that tests, in a way, general knowledge, and you have the one that tests language. So for US, it's English, right? So English tests are what you do. And so the most popular English test or standardized test is the TOEFL. And the TOEFL is test of English as a foreign language or something like that. And most schools actually do require it. And, sometimes it's interesting. Some schools actually don't, but a variety of schools request it. And the thing is, the same thing with the transcript, right? If you decide not to take the TOEFL, that means you are looking for schools only that do not require TOEFL, especially for Nigerians. There are schools that actually waive language requirements for people who were taught in English, or people who their primary language in their country is English also. And Nigeria falls under that for some schools. But for a variety of schools, this is not the same. Even if you tell them that, well, I think in English, you still have to take the TOEFL, which is their requirement. And so it's just like, well, if you want to get something, you try to meet up the requirements, really. Let's see. So also for the language tests, there are some other language tests out there. You have the PTE by Pearson's, and you have the Duolingo. The Duolingo seems to be the cheapest test right now, and schools are starting to accept it. I think the number of schools that accept it from 2019 till now has really increased. But, for a good amount of people, I advise them to, go for the TOEFL if they were to take standardized tests, because almost all the universities that require a standardized test would accept TOEFL. So if you're planning for the US, right, plan for TOEFL. UK, Europe, IELTS, it is Canada, IELTS, US, TOEFL. Now, the second type of tests you have is the general test, right? To test your general knowledge. So you have the GRE and the GMAT. The GRE is the Graduate Records Exam, and usually that's for for science folks, but it's not only for science folks, right? But then you have the GMAT, which is more for the management folks. So if you were to apply for a Master's of Business Administration program, you likely would, some schools require you to write the GMAT, while other schools would waive it for you. Depending on the course of study also, a GRE may or may not be essential. Now, what I mean is, for example, in the biological sciences, there are a lot of schools actually that now do not require the GRE, such that the GRE for biological sciences. So what I mean is GRE for, people who want admission to master's or PhD in biochemistry, microbiology, oncology, cancer, genetics, biology, and what have you. GRE is not as essential as it was in 2019, 2018, 2017. For folks in engineering, physics, computer science, and what have you, GRE is still very much essential. You may find a few schools. I don't think so. I think GRE is very essential for physics and engineering folks, right? But for biological sciences, a lot of schools or a lot of programs in these areas are actually dropping the GRE, and so that's it. But in general, you still have schools that do ask for GRE, and some schools make it optional. They are like, well, if you have it, put it. If you don't, we don't. We would still look at your application. Now, so why the GRE comes important for you then is, imagine someone with a 2.5 CGPA and someone with that's 2.5 CGPA over 4, and someone with a 3.5 CGPA over 4, right? Just based on CGPA, the person with the higher CGPA is the most preferred candidate, right? Now, in a situation where the person with a 3.5 CGPA doesn't take the GRE, and the person with 2.5 CGPA, because they know that their CGPA is not strong enough, right, takes the GRE and does so well and does good in the GRE, they literally can raise themselves to the same pair as the person with the 3.5, right? And it also helps them in their statement of purpose. That's, them saying that, because I want to do this course so much, I tried to improve myself and I worked hard. And although my low CGPA, I took extra classes and I did extra work and I wrote the GRE and I did well, and then you can see the results. And it shows you that I am a good candidate, I am resilient, I have what it takes to do the master's or a PhD, right? And so, so these are the factors that come in to your application. And yeah, the next one, which is, the very interesting one, is the application fee. A lot of schools charges application fees ranging from $10 to $120. But most of the application fee really are between the ranges of 50, 60, 70, or even 40. And so for application fee, right, now imagine yourself having to apply to a variety of universities. Let's say you applied to, let's say 10 universities in the US, and each of them, the application fee is $50. Let's say the average of $50. And that's literally like $500. And when you convert it to Naira, it's something. And so to overcome this, be open, ask questions, like send an email to programs. Usually, some programs are very good and beautiful that most information you want are on their website. Some programs will tell you application waiver is provided. Now, the thing is, the graduate school usually request for an application fee, right? Some programs actually do give application waiver. So for example, you're applying to, for example, my program, the University of Utah Bioscience program, gives application fee waiver. And a lot of other programs do give application fee, such that you write to them, is either, there are two ways, is either if you're applying to the program, automatically you don't need to click or put anything for application fee, right? Or some programs give you codes that you use when you get to the time of paying application fee. You just put in that code and it accepts your application as paid application fee. Now, for programs where it's not stated there on the website that application fees are given, you can actually reach out to the program coordinators. Their emails are usually on the program website, and try to say one or two things like, "Hi, I am very interested in this program from your institution, and sadly, I am unable to, I'm currently hindered by economical circumstances, and I was wondering if there are opportunities for application waivers within your office or within, for the program." And the highest thing they can tell you is no, there is none. Most times they are like, "Oh yes," or "Oh, reach out to this other person," and that helps you a lot. Alternatively, I think I've seen this new trend going on LinkedIn, where a lot of people actually post application waiver on LinkedIn. And so, LinkedIn, Google is the easiest way to do this. You can actually just search for, let's say you've seen a university, let's say University of XYZ, and you just put University of XYZ application fee waiver or application fee waiver LinkedIn. And you may actually see someone who posted that on LinkedIn for the university, and you try it and it works. Alternatively, also, another way for which schools actually give application fee waivers are schools actually tell you that, hey, if you come to our webinar, we're going to give you application fee waiver. I get a ton of those kind of emails already from schools from random schools generally. And that's another good thing with applying for, with writing the TOEFL and the GRE. When you write the TOEFL and the GRE and you consent for them sending your details to schools, some schools may automatically reach out to you and tell you, hey, we have, this program that may interest you. Or if you attend our graduate seminar, you would have application fee waiver. So this is another importance of writing this standardized test, because some schools actually do subscribe to getting students' information from there, especially with recruiting. And okay, so the final thing I have on this slide is most schools may not require a master's to get a PhD. Let's see what my next slide is about. Okay, good. So yes, so that statement goes into what I have for my next slide. So yes, depending on the school and the program you're going for, you do not, sometimes you do not need a master's if you're going for a PhD. So there are two ways, right? If at the end, if your endpoint is to get a PhD, you can either first get a master's or go directly to a PhD. I think at this point, I just want to discuss further on why a master's or why a PhD, which one really is best for you, right? So PhDs or doctoral degrees, you could have, it could be a PhD, it could be a Doctor of Business Administration, DBA, it could be a psychology doctorate degree, it could be an education doctorate degree, it could be a doctorate in public health or public administration, right? As against, for masters, you could have a Master of Science, an MBA, an MPH, a Masters of Education, a Master of Social Work, and a Master of Science in Nursing. and what have you. So the major differences in these two is, first, from experience, basically, there are more opportunities, funding opportunities for PhD or doctorate programs than there are for master's program. And why is this so? This is just literally to the second point down below, which because a PhD takes 4, 5, or 6 years, while a master's is around 1 to 2 years. Now, so the whole idea is if you're getting funding in terms of research assistantship, teaching assistantship, right? They know that you are going to be there for like 4 or 5 years to devote your time to doing research than someone who is coming 1 to 2 years to do research. And so it pays them more to actually have you more, spend more time to do the research. And so it's like, yes, the PhD, that's why you have more funding opportunities for PhD as against the masters, right? I think I'll push this in here also. There are some schools or some programs, depending when you get into it and you apply for a PhD, and on the way, like let's say you're done with 2 years, some schools usually give you a master's, and most times those programs are usually in engineering based programs also. I hardly see that in biological science programs. And also, most PhDs, all PhDs are research degrees to a great extent, while masters are a combination of coursework and research. So when I say research, I don't mean that, well, you're not going to take classes or coursework. You have classes, but the bulk of it, maybe classes 1 or 2 years, then the remaining 3 years or 4 years is on research. But for masters, you can actually have coursework masters or combined with research. You have masters with research, and most times it's those masters that have research that are actually funded. So that brings the reason why courses like a master's in business administration is really, really hard to find funding. I'm not saying you can't find funding. There are fundings. I know a lot of people here at the University of Utah that are from Nigeria that actually have funding for these programs. Well, what I'm trying to say, it's easier to get research-based funding than fundings for MBA, right? And even let's say if you're going for a master's in economics or master's in political science, you can actually easily find funding than programs that the research commitment is lower. Yeah, and also I think here I have more opportunities. So I mean more work opportunities. Why you may choose a PhD aside the masters, maybe for more work opportunities, depending on what you want to do really, because the realistic things is in some fields, a master's and a PhD, during when you want to get a job, it's not really much different. Yeah, a PhD would allow you have a wider variety of jobs you can apply for, and it also may count as some work experience in some cases. But depending on your degree, right, and depending on what you want for yourself, if your end goal is, if you're someone in search for knowledge and you know that I want to end at a PhD, then I usually advise people to actually apply directly for a PhD. And also, if your end goal is to go for a master's, then apply for a master's. Some programs like computer science, right? Having a master's is really what is really good. Having a PhD is if you want to go the extra mile, but having a master's actually creates some kind of increased job opportunities for you. And the same thing with MBAs and some other masters. In the biological sciences, in chemistry, having a master's also opens doors in biology, biochemistry. Having a PhD may be the best option for you. Because another thing is, because some programs don't actually have masters. Like you go to a university, like let's say the University of Utah, they don't have a master's program in biochemistry. It's just a PhD. Same as some other universities also. And this is like a common trend for some biological sciences course. And so when you see someone with a master's there, it's like likely the person started a PhD and decided to stop. And also, it's like in the industry, when in academia or industry, when you want to apply, it's either two things you see mostly. It's either you see a lot of bachelor's degree holder and PhD degree holders and very little of master's degree, And so if you are deciding in biological sciences on what to go, then a PhD may be better for you. In other cases, like let's say sociology and political sciences, a master's or PhD is good for you depending on what your personal goals looks like. Okay, so moving on to the next slide, application timeline. So the US has like about 3 semesters. There is the fall semester, which usually starts in August. You have the spring semester, which usually starts in January. So right now we're in spring semester. And you have the summer semester, which usually starts around May-ish. And so when is the best time to apply for schools in the US, right? The best time to apply for schools in the US is usually the fall semester. Why is the fall semester usually the best time? Because it's the fall semester starts a new year in a way, a new academic section. And that means new funding opportunities, beginning of the year, starting of the budget and everything. So new funding opportunities. And so if you go down to spring, which is around January, already you have people who got admitted in the fall semester get these opportunities first, and then if there are still funding available, then people in the spring may also get it. But usually you have lesser funding opportunities in the spring than in the fall. Now, something that happens quite literally almost every time is people apply to fall semester and they get admission and they get funding, and because of one reason or the other, they are not able to come and start schooling in the fall semester. They can actually write the school to ask them to defer their admission to spring semester. And that also works. So sometimes there are unforeseen circumstances that actually happens. Let's say, it's hard getting your visa and hard getting the right paperwork. And so you ask the school to defer your admission. A good example also was in the time of COVID, right? There was a lot of travel restriction. And so a lot of people did this deferring of admission. And so for fall semester, usually when you start, the deadline to apply is usually November, December, the previous year. Now, why I say November, December is this is the deadline for majority of the universities, but some universities actually go further to January. You may see that exceptions also. But so if you're planning to start school by August next year, you have to start now by planning. Like Ikenna and Joshua earlier said, like you really need about a year to actually plan all this before you actually come into classes, because a lot of things take time during the whole application process. Now, for spring semester, the deadline for application is usually around September. You can have it even earlier. You can have it maybe in August. You can have it in September, October, but usually around that time, and you have less funding. And so the basic timeline really is that you, for fall semester where you have more of these funding opportunities, you plan to submit your application by December of the previous year. And so your admission usually comes between January and March, depending. You either accept or reject the admission before April. So there's a general April deadline for schools, because schools want to know your decision such that if you reject them, they can actually reach out to the next ranked students that are likely for admission. And so sometimes it's a good thing if you apply to reject as soon as you can, if you are rejecting, or accept, when you think is a good time to accept. And usually when you accept in April, then they start preparing your documents for your visa. And so within May to July, you can actually plan for your visa, get your documents, and get the necessary documents and go for your visa interview. And by August, you begin classes. Yeah, so this is a deadline. For spring, it's a little bit, it's just like, almost like this, but the months are changed, really. But the very important thing with your application, whenever you want to make it, is remember that there's going to be a huge amount of time it takes to process visa and documentations. And so you should actually factor that time into your application. And yeah, now I think this is close to the last part of my discussion today. What do you need to do to start your application? Now, just a recap, I have told you that, you need certain things for your application. You need your CV, resume, you need a statement of purpose, which is an essay. You need your transcripts evaluated. You need to make an online application, pay an application fee or request for an application waiver. You need some standardized tests depending on the program, right? And also, I think I skipped this. Now, there was a question on that. How long do they need your bachelor's degree certificate before you, how long do they need it? That can you apply without it? Yes, you can apply as early as even your, will I say your second semester of your final year, when you're almost done. You can actually start applying then. Or you can apply when you just finish school, when you have all your classes taken, and you have your transcripts. So for most parts, the basic requirement is really the transcripts. Sometimes the transcript stands in as though you have received the degree, right? So during my application time, I sent in the transcript, and I sent in a notification of results, because then I had a notification of results, like showing that, yes, the Senate has approved that you be conferred a Bachelor of Science with the class of the degree there. And so you can apply with distance, because a lot of schools knows that actually processing, getting certificates actually take long. And so with your transcripts and maybe this kind of letter, you can actually make your application. And, and then when you have your degree certificate, you'd go to the school and then give them that. Now, in terms of transcripts also, there are two types of transcripts that you can submit for your application. You can submit what is known as an unofficial transcript, which could be you literally, so a transcript, first of all, is literally a record of all the classes you've taken and the grades you got in the classes, right? And so if, for example, for some of my applications, all I did was to get a record of that record from my FEO portal and apply to it, because applying for the transcript was taking time. And then when you actually do have the transcript, an official transcript is a transcript that goes from one school to another, right? Most schools in Nigeria do not want to hand you your official transcripts. And so you have to tell the school, like FUO, like, hey, I'm applying to this university and I need my transcript to be sent there. So you make that application to FUO, you pay the necessary fees there, they transfer your transcript to the school you are applying for. But if you don't have that, and if that is delaying, you can always use, if your school has online records of your grades, you can always use that as an unofficial transcript to apply. And when you do get the admission, then you send in your official transcripts. So that also works. Okay, so going to the slide we have in front. Now, what do you need to do while starting your application for a US institution? Now, the first thing is literally to be organized. He who, he who fails to plan, plans to fail. I usually advise people to have a notebook where they can actually keep the requirements of schools and actually track themselves. University of North Carolina, they require GRE, TOEFL, and all this. University of New Hampshire, they don't require GRE, TOEFL, that. So that helps you gauge like where you want to apply to, where you want to spend your resources on, and also tells you which schools you've applied to, which schools you've reached out to professors in, and which schools, and which schools you need to get more documents before you can apply for. And the next step is literally search for schools and their requirements. I think a very popular thing with a lot of people is, hey, you're in this university, you got this program, send me the link, right? And the reality is, you're already telling this person you are in this university, you got into this program, send me the link. You know that information already. All you just literally need to do is type it. University of so-so-so, MSc this, PhD this, and you go there and you literally see the requirements, right? One important thing to do is when checking those information, you want to check their requirements and you want to check the funding. For a good amount of PhD programs in the US, you're going to see them clearly state funding is provided to all those who get admission. While for some other programs, for masters, you may have to reach out to the school to confirm that yes, they have funding opportunities available to your program of interest. And so I have kept a template here for an example. You can easily type PhD physics fully funded and add .edu there on a Google search box, and you see the results. So if you want to know US universities are universities ending with .edu, right? UK universities would have .edu.ac, and other universities like Japan may have .edu.jp, right? But US universities have .edu. So when you see Google bring out a list of results for you, you check, because where you want to get the information from is usually the university website. They have the most accurate information. You may see Scholarship Hub putting information on some universities fully funded. That is also good, but you want to make sure that the final places where you get your information are from the university. So if you go through a third-party website, you want to make sure that they still redirect you to a university, because informations you get from a third-party website are not as accurate as informations you get from the university. Okay, so also you need to, get a list of universities. Another way you can search for schools to apply to is really, we have, there are 50 states in the US, right? You can actually start going from each state if you are really determined that, well, I want to get scholarship and I want to get admission with scholarship, and I want to maximize my opportunity. So you can literally go through each of all the states and search for universities in the states. Usually states have more than one, more than two, more than three university. Places like New York, I can't count how many universities are there. Places like California, there are numerous. You have state universities, you have other university systems there, like California itself has University of California system. You have the University of California, San Diego. You have the University of California, Los Angeles. You have the University of California, San Francisco. You have different universities of California. And then you have California State University. You have California State University in one place. You have California State University in another place of California. So there are a lot of opportunities out there for you whenever you're ready to say, yes, I want to apply, I want to further my education. Also, write down the requirements of these universities you're interested in. And then the last step is literally to fulfill the requirements. So, with each requirement, you want to see before applying that, oh, you have this requirement. And sometimes, even if you don't have the requirement, you can ask for waivers, right? Like for MBA programs that may require GRE or GMAT, you can actually write to a lot of schools. For example, let's say you took your bachelor's in economics and international trade, right? You can actually tell them that you have taken some prerequisite course that you think a strong basis to receive an application waiver for GRE or GMAT. And sometimes, and it's a good amount actually, some schools actually give these waivers. So these are actually options for you. And so other tips, paying for application fees. As I said earlier, ask the program, search online for waivers. There are opportunities out there, there are waivers out there. It doesn't harm, it doesn't hurt you asking. Whenever you ask a question, the highest someone can say is, right, like, I don't know, or we don't have, right? And you continue your own way, right? They're not going to do anything more drastic than that, really. Now, the second option is, reaching out, like outsourcing, looking for different programs that actually fund applications. So I know there are, a very good one I know is Education USA, because I received the opportunity funds in 2019 or 2018. So Education USA is a program of the Department of State of the US here, and they have this opportunity funds program for people who are of low income background but have good results. So usually, people with a first class degree and a second class upper actually get it, depending. Now, with this Education USA, right, depending on what you have, they usually, if you get the opportunity funds program, you usually get access or get funds for writing standardized tests. That's GRE, TOEFL. You also get funds for applying to some schools, right? Well, it depends, limited based on their funding, right? And also when you get the admission, you get funds that helps covers your visa fee, and as well as funds that also even cover down to your flight tickets, right? So this is usually very good opportunities that you can actually try out. So Education USA, I know a lot of us use Facebook, so you can go on Facebook and search Education USA Lagos, Education USA Abuja. There are other Education USA outlets in Nigeria, but I think Lagos and Abuja are the ones that have the most vibrant Facebook and Instagram social media presence, and so you can get a lot of information. And they also give you tips on applying. Sometimes they have webinars where you have school representatives come there and talk. So if you go to Education USA Abuja or Education USA Lagos and go to their posts, sometimes you see videos, and these videos are of maybe school representative talking about admission process, and you literally learn a lot from this group. Other ways to fund your expenses. literally ask people, look for opportunities. There could be one or two people on LinkedIn that put up opportunities that, if you're interested in applying for graduate school, come. I'm going to sponsor your application fee and maybe a cost of one examination. There are some people out there like that. There are some group of graduate students also that decides that, okay, they want to give back to Nigeria and actually combine money to actually sponsor application fees. Also, I don't know if I'm correct, if the iScholar is part of them, but I think that may also be one of them. The department for which you are applying for, may also have a way to help. It doesn't hurt asking, really. There's a student I know who asked a department, and literally the department helps them with like flight tickets down from Nigeria down to the university for which they got accepted into. So never be afraid to ask, right? Now, LinkedIn, if you see a school that you like and you want to apply to, you need to get information about the school also. A good way to do that is to reach out on LinkedIn, like, hey, I see this university. I want to know more about it. Do they have funding? Are you funded? You're a student, you're studying there. Are you funded? How did you do it? Can you help me out? Like, can you give me tips on how to do it, best? And yeah, and that helps a lot. And, there are tons of students out there that are really open to helping, giving advice, to people. So you can just take that initiative. It, again, never hurts to ask. And now the last resource, YouTube. YouTube has a variety of information. It's interesting that most times people go to, social media to get information that really may not really help them, right? On YouTube, you can learn programming. You can learn how to prepare for standardized tests, even at the shortest time possible. And you can literally learn from YouTube and go write this exam and pass superbly. It depends on how much effort you really put in this. So I think with this, I am done with this section. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that very interesting session, Oyinka. I think for many of us who don't know about how the US application process is, you've seamlessly broken everything down, and it's easy to understand how to apply, how to search for schools, and even how to request for funding and how to search for funding now. And we thank you very much. We can't thank you enough for your time and for making your explanation very succinct and elaborate, to the making it very comprehensive. I think that's the word I was looking for, making it very comprehensive. And also for anyone who's interested in learning more about how the US application process works, we'll be sending in a PDF material written by Asha about how to apply for US schools. It will be dropped in our Telegram group. So you should check our Telegram group for that PDF file. Now, going forward, I'd like to invite Asiwaju Samuel to come up and speak to us about the application process for the Erasmus Mundus program. And thereafter, we'll take all our questions and close the program for today. Our time is already fast spent, so I would like to urge Asiwaju Samuel to please try to make sure that his presentation is quite straight to the point. Thank you very much. Asiwaju, over to you. So I'm sorry. Seems like I got everything mixed up. I see what student to the industry, seeing that he already works for a big tech company in Sweden. So he'll be telling us, he was sharing from his experience and giving us practical tips. So after your graduate program, what next? What are you going to do now that you have a master's, you have a PhD? What are you now going to do? How do you use that to impact the industry or get to work for big tech companies or big corporations around the world? That is what Asiwaju will be speaking on. Thank you very much. I'm sorry again, once again, for that mix-up. Mic is muted, Asiwaju.
I think you have to unmute him first.
Okay, yeah. I think it's fine now. Yeah, I was muted by the host, so. Okay.
So sorry about that, Sammy.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, good evening, everyone. I think we've gotten a lot of things already, and I won't want to waste or keep us waiting also. I mean, obviously we're not wasting our time, we are learning a lot of things here. So just going straight to business, I'm going to be sharing my screen. I don't know the possibility for that, but I will try that out.
You can share your screen.
Okay, it's just a page, and then so it's not going to take much of our time, I promise. Okay. So I'm on my screen now, and I hope everyone can see my screen. So going straight to business. So yeah, after your graduate school or whatsoever you're doing, probably PhD, master's, for me, I can just give a brief introduction of myself. My name is Samuel Ashiwaju Imolayo, and I had my bachelor in computer science and also my master's in cloud computing, green networking. So after my master's degree, I was deciding if I should go for a PhD because I kind of enjoy doing the research, and also I was deciding if I should pick up a job role or like. So I made a decision at the end of the day, and I ended up in the industry. So it's either you want to go into the academia or you want to go to the industry. I mean, if you want to go into the industry, you can also start up your own company also, or it's much possible, and just making the decision is the important thing. So I listed some points here, and the first area you need to know, like when making this kind of decision, you need to actually decide what you want for yourself. It's quite difficult now in these days because we don't really know what we want, and it's quite conflicting. So you need to decide what you want for yourself and define your own sources. Don't use the template of the other people or to define your sources. Like define what success means to you. You want to like be happy, you're happy with the academics, you're happy with research, whatsoever research you're doing. Define what you want, and just I'll advise you just to go for it. So we've been seeing the different news right on the internet about the saga that is all happening all over the world as regards the downsizing of different organizations of their employees. So it's a situation of economic recession and complaints. So organization and companies only go for they are very, very important or crucial employment. So they don't want to waste any single dime, no matter how cheap the assets will be. They don't want to waste it now. They are trying to down cost. That is just the truth about it. And also in the company where I work, they are also trying to cut down costs, and they're also like downsizing also. So it's cuts across every company in the world, in US, in Europe, in Asia, everywhere. So this time around, it's not a time for you to start guessing or going for something you don't know if you will do. So be cocksure you are going to do that. So during the period of your master's or PhD or graduate program, even though you can get it with your undergraduate program also, you should start preparing and applying for your next move. I mean, when you have like 6 months or 1 year before the ending of your program. So by that time, you should start preparing. I mean, early preparation is the key actually, because most of the time, if we don't have a visa or a resident permit, it's going to be quite difficult. So you should start preparing for that move. And I will be using myself as an example because I started preparing also like a semester that's like 6 months prior to my ending of my program. So I get my CV ready, I get my cover letter ready and all these kind of things. So you need to just start preparing. And then I'm just going to be like talking about some of the things that can help you during that period. You should note that if you are in the EU, if you're in Europe, or you can actually get the job across Europe in different countries in Europe. So you should not be restricting yourself to just this country you are staying in Europe. So for example, if I am living in Spain and then I'm schooling in Spain, then I can actually apply to other countries across EU. So that's how it works in EU, or it's a different template in America or Canada or North or South or Asian. So yeah, I am based in Europe, so I can speak about Europe also. Okay, so look for the companies, most of the companies sponsor your visa, so just look for them and go for them. And also, one thing you should note is that your CV for your academic that you use during your graduate school program or undergraduate school program is totally, or not totally different, but entirely different from your industrial CV if you want to go for the industry. So it's very critical. And the CV, academic CV, is also different from industrial CV. And each country or different country have their own different templates. So that is one thing you should note. So the CV that you use for applying for job is going to be different from the one you use to apply for PhD. So you should note that the CV you use to apply for job in US is different from the one you use to apply for job in, let's say, Netherlands or maybe France. So it's quite different. So you need to do your research well. So I mean, this time around is not just little research. You need to go in detail. So you should know much more about the country and their own process or their own CV formats, because different companies have different CV format, mostly country-wise. So also another advice I give people is that look out for the graduate training programs of these companies and then go for it. Yeah, the graduate training programs are for graduates that are just finishing their master's or PhD, and then they train you for a couple of periods, and then after that they retain you as a full staff. So that's one of the best programs to go out for when applying for jobs as an early career. Despite your experience, I have to be sincere with you, because I have worked closely with a lot of foreigners in different industry, and also I am one of the core team or leadership team of the youths of the young employees in my organization. So I know a lot of young employees, recent employees within 5 years, less of 5 years of experience, and I've seen their CV, and I know what this company wants from young employees. So it's quite difficult, even though you have experience outside EU, for example, they don't really count that as a concrete experience, because if you're just finishing your master's, they believe they need to train you, stuff like that. I mean, there are always exceptions for all these cases. So try to look for the graduate trainings. They can be quite difficult to get into, and most of those graduate training, they have a defined career path for you, because that is what you should be looking out for when you're applying for job roles. And also, I would say be open-minded. So just be open-minded to different opportunities. Don't be so selective. Don't be so particular or with the opportunities, chances. I have some of my friends after their masters, they moved to USA for PhD, some moved to USA for job, some moved to Canada after from EU. So you should be open-minded. So open and weigh your opportunity and just go for it, exploit them. I have this ideology or this philosophy that you should first get the offer or get the scholarship or get the job before you can start thinking if I will go for that. I mean, if you don't get it and you're thinking, should I apply for it? If I applied for it, will I go for it? I mean, at that time, it's quite difficult. You don't have the opportunity now. You're not thinking if you go for it. First, get the job or get the scholarship. And when you get it, you cannot decide if you go for it. So, another thing that is quite important, look for like-minded people, connect with like-minded people that are also applying for job, that are also applying for, or in the case of scholarship, if you are also looking for scholarship, connect with them and let them help you. So some of the tips I'm sharing also work for your scholarship application, but it's what is really applicable in jobs. And one of the secrets I will also give to you is networking. It's something that is not really, we don't know the power of networking. So in our society, networking is almost everything. I mean, in Nigeria, we call it man no man, but like in EU, it's networking, they call it. I mean, you need to network. That's just the truth. I mean, to get a job, you need to network. We have something we call referrals. And in referrals, for example, if you want to work in Google, if you get a referral from a Google staff, it's a sure means that you get an interview invite. And that interview invite is quite difficult to get because thousands of people are applying for that same job. But when you get a referral from a Google staff, you get an invite for an interview at least, and then you can prove yourself. So networking is very important. Go out there, meet with people, connect with people, go to social events, go to LinkedIn, connect with people, talk to people. Just throw yourself out there, like to the I mean, not just to anybody, but to the people that you really need. I mean, go out there. I mean, it's very important. Go to conferences. I've met some friends that got their next PhD through attending conferencing. I've met some friends who got their job just by connecting with people. I mean, like, it's very important. I mean, I was at EU Startup Summit last year at Barcelona, and people were like connecting, exchanging contacts, meeting their investors. I mean, that's what it means to connect. Like, you connect and you get the next move. I mean, that's what people get jobs through those medium also. So just connect, throw yourself out there, meet with people. And also, one thing that is very important, and it works also for both EU, in US, even in Nigeria, is internships and experience, student internship during your studies. Like, it's quite important. Like, if you have this internship opportunity during your program, just go for it. It's something that is quite key that we underemphasize. I mean, my first job in Nigeria at Cypher Crescent was actually through internship. And after my, we call it CWS in Nigeria. Then after the CWS, I got full employment because I performed better. My role in Sweden, I did my master thesis with them. And after that, even though it was a different organization, but it was still in the same company. So internship cannot be underemphasized. So try to get an internship during your program. It's very difficult. I can say very difficult, but just try to get it. Like, go all the way to get it. And I mean, internship is not an 100% assurance that you get the job in the company after that. I mean, you need to perform, you need to prove yourself, you need to do that or this or that. But like, it gives you the experience, it gives you the right motive, the like just a click of how it works out there in this organization or in this company, how working in this system looks like, something like that. I mean, you understand, you get used to the system by doing an intern or with that company. So it's something that you should not look down on. And I want to mention about develop a strong CV, a resume, and LinkedIn profile, and then connect. I mean, we need to like understand that our social media is not just for fun. Like the LinkedIn profile, it's a professional profile. I mean, when you get at the job stage, I mean, you need to start putting yourself out there, and recruiters start reaching out to you, like literally reaching out to you if your profile match what they need. I mean, I have several recruiters that have reached out to me for jobs, and I've declined. And what I can do sometimes is to like refer them to some of my friends that are searching for jobs. So throw yourself out there, give yourself a good profile, or when you are getting the interviews, or have a portfolio. I mean, no matter the field you are, it gets the hiring manager impressed. I mean, I've worked with several hiring managers, well, not several, but maybe a few, due to my position in the organization. And I've seen what they want. I've also interviewed a candidate just within my few months of working experience. I've also interviewed a candidate with my manager, and I've seen what they want. I've seen the question they ask. After the interview, we're talking about the candidate. I see what they want from every candidate. I mean, it's quite interesting, because we are on a different page from them. So get yourself a portfolio, impress them, show them what you can do, show them what you've done, and don't be intimidated. I mean, you can easily get intimidated, but like, don't be like, it's quite easy to like assess them. And then just like the scholarship application, job application can also be very challenging, to be sincere, especially in this period. For the next few months or years, it can be quite challenging because of the economic situation, but still companies are still hiring. You can still be the lucky one. I mean, also just to give an heads up, I've met a lot of Nigerians in Europe that people believe that it's just only tech, non-tech workers that got a job right from Nigeria also. What you just need is your skills. They won't just hire you for fun. That is just the truth. You need to have a good skills, a good tangible and visible skills that you want to show to them. They've hired financial people right from Nigeria down to like Sweden, Germany. I've seen them. Yeah, finance people. They've hired project manager, product designer, and lots of software that we all know about. They've hired like chemical analysts, all these people right from Nigeria. I mean, from Nigeria, not like they did masters anywhere. They were in Nigeria. Some were graduates in Nigeria without job in Nigeria, and they hired them from Nigeria because they have the skills. So push yourself out there. If you have the skills, they will come for you. I mean, everybody will not get the job. It's not easy, but get the skills, learn the skills. There are a lot of platforms to learn. Get your skills, polish your CV, and put yourself out there. And one thing you should note is that you will get a lot of rejections. No matter how good, that is just to be sincere, you will get a lot of rejections, probably more than scholarship application. I don't know, even if the speaker mentioned that also. You will get hundreds. If you apply for 100 jobs, you get hundreds of rejections. So you should just know that at the back of your mind. But this should not weigh you down. This should not bring you down, or this should not depress you. But it's just to like prepare your mind, because it's not like an easy task. Sometimes you are applying for a job. I think for my job role, about maybe 50 people will apply, and just one person is going to be selected. And the 50 people is not like 50 people without experience, people with concrete experience, people that are even like nationalities, locals of the countries apply, and they'll now come and pick one foreigner man, or one, not to talk of a black man. It's quite difficult. So you need to show your skills. So when you get a rejection, dust it off, clean up your CV, and move on. Just keep the application going. That's what I'm going to tell you. It might not come at a platter of gold. Why some it might come at a platter of gold? I mean, I won't say I get mine so easily. I got few rejections, but it wasn't difficult compared to some people also. I mean, with your masters, you are still looking for a job. A lot of people in UK, in Sweden, everywhere in the world, US, looking for a job after their masters, PhD. You know that there's a job sitting for you, waiting for you. You need to go for the job and apply for it. So I don't know if there is any other thing I'm missing, but these are the few things I have highlighted that I believe I can share with everyone today. And if you have any question, I would love to interact more with people as regards this, if they have questions. So you can just let me know if you have more questions. And if you also want more information as regards this, you can also let me know. I am open. Yeah, so just let me know. And yeah, I think.
Yeah, all right, Sammy. Thank you very much for this very insightful sessions. Actually, this was well packaged and brutally delivered. And for me, like, it means a whole lot for me because we are still in graduate school, still, studying for masters. So this is particularly directed to those of us who are still doing our graduate studies, compared to those persons who are out there looking for a way to get into graduate school. So this is actually very helpful, and I want to sincerely appreciate you for that. So quickly, we would just like to take questions randomly. So from the first speaker to Sammy, some persons have actually left the room, but if there are specific questions that you have, you could now just raise your hand using the reaction, and then I would just allow you to ask your question directly, and then we assign it to the speaker that is expected to respond. Thank you very much, Sammy, once again. So you can stop sharing. So do we have questions for those of us who are still in the room? If you have a question, please kindly raise your hand. So, okay, hi phone. I don't know who you are. All right, you can actually speak. You can ask your question. Kindly unmute yourself and ask your question, please.
Hi, Ezekiel. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry that I was carrying iPhone. This is Stella. My name is Stella.
All right.
Okay, so my question directly to Onyeka is in terms of the LOR. So like for a long while now, I've been applying though. So I've been a bit unlucky to get. So, but my question, do you have a particular sample of an LOI? Because I'm seeing something that is very, very, let's say, it's just.
All right, Stella, I think we can barely hear you. Maybe your network is not stable. Possibly you could drop your question on the chat box and we'll respond to it. So probably we'll allow, but Doc, you heard what she said, right? Yeah, I think our network was fluctuating, but you can still respond to that.
Yeah, so in terms of yeah, so Chiamaka, it's been a while. Nice to hear your voice. So in terms of letter of recommendation, LOR, right, and not SOP. So in terms of a letter of recommendation, yeah, you can actually reach out to me.
Is she referring to letter of intent or letter of recommendation? Because recommendation letters are meant specifically for referees.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to get that because I heard LOR and then I heard
I think she's
SOP.
reconnecting.
Okay.
Yeah, she's back. So Stella, you're back, right?
Yes, sir.
I think we are struggling to hear you. So when you say LOI, are you referring to letter of, like you're referring to recommendation letter or letter of intent, or what exactly? Can you just give the full meaning, letter of intent, or what exactly do you mean?
Gostam, I think it's best she sends a question into the chat box so that we could get it and answer it on time, because network seems not to be stable on our own end.
So
Because
Stella,
we've
can
already
you please
spent
up the
great
chat
time.
box? But Doc, you can respond to it randomly.
So if it were to be SOP, which I think you are actually trying to say, or in both cases, SOP or letter of recommendation, there are unique things people want to see there. SOP, you need to sell yourself. You need to show them how much research experience you have in the field you're trying to break into or you want to apply to, right? In a letter of recommendation, like Ikenna said, and I think Joshua said something about that also. You don't want letters of recommendation that, well, to whom it may concern, I am very pleased with Okeke and Okafor, God bless him, or something like that, really. What you want is something that tells more details about you. I knew this person starting from when they were taking my class in entomology, and they showed some great attributes, especially with their questions. They were interested. So you need those kind of letters to show that this person who is recommending you knows you. It's either they know you for doing something relating to research, or they know you for doing something relating to academics, or they know you generally, they can speak good about you, and not that this person is an awesome person, give him funding, yeah. And the same thing also with letter of statement of purpose. You want to show why you are interested. You want to tell them what research are you interested in. You're applying to a nutrition program, you're applying to a biochemistry program, you're applying to a physics program. What part of physics, what specific parts are you interested in? What do you want to learn? What do you want to solve? How do you think having you in the program would add to the school? And how do you think having the school in your life would add to your life also? And what have you done to prepare yourself for this? That those are literally the things you need. But yes, you can reach out to me. I think, Stella, you have my information, so you can reach out with and let me know what specific information you need, and I'll try to furnish them, right?
Okay. I have another question.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. So I've been applying for two things actually. I've been applying based on the bioscience because I studied biochemistry. And also, I've also been applying based on my passion, which is I'm good with marketing. And ever since I left school, I've been working with industries that have to do with marketing, especially internet marketing. So I'm happy you mentioned that there's a big room for career change in the US. So I don't know if it is the major reason why I'm not getting funding. So I don't know, is it because it's not a science course or something? That's just like this question. If it is not, I don't know if there's anything you think we should actually do for it, because your talk was actually based on the science aspect, like, though I understand it's from the angle you're coming from. So is there anything you can actually tell us that we can use as people who has a science background wants to move into that field, or can use to boost our grade? Because even when I calculated my CGPA, it was not 3/4, it was up, it was like 2.8/4. So it's still low and something like that.
That's a wonderful question. First of all, in terms of marketing, yes, marketing is literally almost related to business administration, and the amount of the funding available in those departments are a little bit low. Not that they are not available, but they are a little bit low. And so it takes people like a lot of effort to actually apply to these programs and actually get funding. And some people who do apply with, very good, what do you call it, profiles, actually still find it hard with funding. So it's mostly the program specific, because I know a student I'm working with currently, he has a very good profile and he has admissions offer for a variety of universities. But the issue there with the offers is like he's getting scholarships. And yes, there are also scholarships in the US, but the scholarships are literally like they don't come close to even 30 or 40% of the cost of tuition, let alone cost of living. So what I would tell you, Stella, is like there are a lot of universities in the US, right? Do not, because you're not finding it, does not mean that they are not ones that would actually give you admission and get you funded to a good amount, right? So it's just to literally keep looking. And something else I can say is, so there are other pathways some people use for funding. I don't know if it will interest you. There was someone who reached out to me via LinkedIn, and I talked to him a bit, and I lost contact with him recently. I got to know he's already in the US, doing something relating to what you did. But he took a little bit non-conventional method by applying for an institute this time, and the institute gives him funding. The institute is literally like a graduate school, right? And they gave him some funding, and they also have an opportunity for loan. They actually loan students. So the whole idea is the institute is actually a very good one that I recently got to hear about, and I was literally amazed. So what the institute does is it's literally focused on people like you, who have biological science degrees but want to cut into marketing, business administration, but they focus on industries like biopharmas and biotech, because biotech, aside making drugs and all that, they also do the business aspect. And so they train these candidates, these students, to specialize in the biotech. And they also, in terms of funding, they also give some sort of funding, and as well as you can actually get a loan from there. So it's more logical in the sense of a loan, because usually I am hard on advising people to do that. But in this case, it's like employment is almost sure for you. And so it makes sense that, and the loan terms also may sound great. So I think, I would share that institute with you. I think it's KGI. If you go on LinkedIn, just search KGI. I'm trying to just check out the name of the school. Keck Graduate Institute, I think. Graduate Institute. So let's see. Yeah, so I am going to just copy the link I'm seeing here and just put it in the place below for anyone who is also interested in this. Yeah, so really it's sorry. I literally copied a link from Google, and it gave me all the whole accessories that comes with it, which is not what I'm looking for. Okay, so that's it there, and it should lead you to the school. So yeah, so they do something like that, and that was the first time I heard of this, and I think it's really also awesome, because I think I've gone through the page and I think it's awesome. So this is something you can check out. But aside this, it's literally just to put in more effort, actually look for more schools, and and continue trying. If writing, most of the schools you apply to, if writing GMAT, if they require you to write GMAT, or if you didn't write GMAT, so GMAT may actually be a way to help you to actually cross into that area, especially with the funding. For MBA and Masters of Marketing and all that, if you literally had the money to finance your education, most of them literally, they actually give admission. But I think the most hindrance is because of the cost of financing the programs. Yeah. So hopefully this answer has helped a little bit.
Yeah, all right. Thank you very much for that response. Stella, are you still in the room? I believe
Yes.
your questions have been addressed, right?
Yes, he's been
Yeah,
very
so just a quick one. If you're on the Telegram group, we could grant you access to our drive. We have a drive where we upload some sample works that could be of help to you and other prospective applicants as well. So do well to drop a message for us either on WhatsApp or on the Telegram platform, and we would respond. So quickly, we've had a number of questions that have been asked tonight.
The number on the email, so the number from the email can take me to the WhatsApp, right?
Yeah, you can take it to WhatsApp actually. Or just send me a message, I will add you.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've spent like over 3 hours for tonight, and I think this is really very interesting because a lot of information has been given tonight, and I sincerely do hope that our participants are able to make the best out of all the information that has been given tonight, because information is key to success in life. Information is very, very critical to whatever thing you want to achieve in life. And not too many people do have access to this kind of exclusive information that you need to succeed. So I do hope that we're able to make the best out of it. We've spent more than 3 hours in the session tonight. Our speakers are very busy people, and participants also, I know you're all very busy. And considering the fact that this session is going to last for 2 days, today and tomorrow, most of the questions that you've asked in the chat box has already been addressed. Okay, either privately responded to or generally responded to during the presentation. And I would like to say that the session is also streamed on YouTube Live, so you could actually go on YouTube via our channel to probably listen to it. So tomorrow we will continue on from where we're stopping. So if you have any challenge tomorrow, we'll be focusing on the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship and Commonwealth Masters and PhD Scholarship. We'll also be looking at the Erasmus Mundus Scholarship and the Chevening Award as well, particularly preparing you for the next application cycle, starting from August, September to November, December this year against 2024 entry. Okay, so once again, I would like to emphasize that all the services we offer as an NGO are completely free, and we do not charge you a dime for any of our services. So please and please kindly take note that you are not expected to pay money to anyone for whatever services in the name of Academic Advancement Alliance. We do fund the activities we do from our own personal pocket. So far, we have not requested for funding from anyone, and I believe that we'll be able to give greater support to people in the weeks, in the years ahead. Like I said, my name is Ezekiel Godstime, and I am a Commonwealth Shared Scholar at Coventry University, studying for my Master's in Terrorism, International Crime, and Global Security. And I'm the convener of the Academic Advancement Alliance. So tomorrow we'll continue with this session again, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of us. Please kindly do well to inform your friends and family members and advise them to turn up, because tomorrow is going to be very interesting. And is going to be so impactful, building on what has been done today. So I once again like to appreciate all our speakers, from Dr. Yinka, Ikenna, Joshua, and Samuel. Like, you guys are really wonderful, because I know how busy it is for you in your studies and work, still making out time to be here. And I'm honestly grateful. And I pray that God Almighty will bless you for all you've done, for your sacrifices. And also all participants, I want to sincerely thank our team members for coming and for staying to this very moment. So I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow, same time, 3 p.m. UK time, 4 p.m. Nigerian time. So thank you very much once again, and do have a good evening. Good night, everyone.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Yeah, I can see you.